Okay, hi guys, we're back again with all round health talk, and as usual, my name is Dr. Onyinye, with me is
Dr. Celestina.
Okay, so we just want to say a very big thank you for your support last week with the breast cancer awareness. So many people were sharing the videos, and we got so many feedback from people, and it was wonderful. And we just want to say we're grateful for all the support, and may God bless you all. Today we're going to be focusing on high blood pressure, which is also known as high BP, which is also known as hypertension. Okay, they're all the same thing. We've all heard of cases where somebody begins to complain of chest pain, and all of a sudden the person slumps and dies. It's probably because of high blood pressure, which is like the silent killer in medicine. It's one disease that comes just like that and just kills you without you even realizing it. So today we're going to be talking about the definition of high blood pressure. But before we go to that, we need to understand what a blood pressure is all about. Okay, so the heart now gets the work of pumping blood to the different parts of our body. For example, as we sit down here now, they talk, they do hand movement. Now because blood they flow enter our hand, our legs, our head, our brain, and everything. So now the function of the heart to send blood go all these different parts of the body, and not be only blood. This blood when they send carry oxygen, and it carries something we call nutrients. It be like the food where the cells of the body need to function. So it be like when you want pump water from one particular source reach different houses, you need pressure make this water fit pass from where they go the different places where you want send them. Now the same thing they happen with the heart. So for the heart to pump blood go all these different parts, you need pressure to pump the blood. Okay, now to pump this blood you need wetin we dey call arteries, wey be like pipe. Now through this pipe or through this artery, now the blood go pass take go different parts of our body, and for this blood to pass through this artery you need pressure. So you get normal pressure where they allow the blood to flow to the different parts of the body. For any reason, anything fit happen, different thing fit cause make this pressure increase. Now if this pressure increase, your heart go come start to dey overwork himself because the pressure don increase. Now im be say the heart need to do extra work so that e go fit pump this blood carry go give every part of the body. So when this pressure increase pass normal, na im we dey talk say person get high BP. Okay, now how we go take know the number wey go show for the thing, the machine wey the doctor dey use measure una blood pressure. Okay, that machine when you use and measure una blood pressure, number go show there. Now this number we go take know whether you get high blood pressure or not, whether the pressure normal or not. Okay, and from all the studies where they don't do, for doctor to say you get normal blood pressure, your blood pressure suppose dey less than 120 over 80 millimeter mercury. Okay, now like this, and they measure them, they get two numbers, the one way dey up and the one way dey down. Okay, wetin dey happen be say, mo take for example say na this be the heart, e carry blood inside, e wan pump this blood go different parts of the body. Now for this heart to pump this blood, e suppose contract like this. Okay, I don't know if una dey see am. E suppose contract like this, and as e contract, you fit see say water dey come out, but as e contract, so na so the blood go pass. Now this time wey e dey contract, e get a particular pressure wey e dey use pump blood. This moment wey e contract, na that number na im be the first number wey una dey see, na im be the first number wey dey on top. Now after e don contract, don remove all the blood, e go come relax so that new blood go enter again. That time when new blood dey enter again, na the second number wey una dey see, na the pressure when e dey use receive new blood, na im be the second number wey una dey see. So when you go, your doctor measure you, tell you say your blood pressure na 130 over 80. E mean say that time when your heart dey contract, the pressure wey dey use contract send blood na 130, and when after e don contract send the blood, when e relax na 80. Na 80 be the pressure wey you use relax receive new blood. So now wetin dey happen for our body. We no, but now wetin dey happen inside us, na they make us function. If your doctor come measure your blood pressure, e see say your blood pressure don high pass wetin e suppose be, e go come tell you whether you get pre-hypertension or whether you don get the hypertension itself. E go come tell you wetin you suppose do and wetin you no suppose dey do, so that you go feel better your blood pressure. Okay, so now this thing dey happen for the body wey dey make us talk say person get high blood pressure, na because change dey happen for the pressure. And normally the pressure when your heart dey use pump blood fit change, e fit increase, e fit reduce, based on whether na morning or na night, whether you dey run or whether you dey waka, the activity wey you dey do. But if this blood pressure increase consistently, like e don increase, e no dey go down again, na there wahala dey. But normally your blood pressure can vary based on what activity you are doing at the moment. But once it is high and is not going down again, na there the wahala dey.
Okay, so now we've heard about the definition of high blood pressure. Now we know it's in high blood pressure be. Now, how bad this situation be worldwide? Because no be just joke wey they call this thing silent killer, no be joke. Person go dey waka die, na high blood pressure cause am, no be joke. So how bad this thing be worldwide? May we start from US, because now there the whole Ubonge organization where they do all these whole statistics for us. They say 1 in 3 deaths in US na cardiovascular disease cause am. And high blood pressure is an example of a cardiovascular disease, which means na be like number 1 top. 1 in 3 deaths. So if 3 people die, there's every probability say 1 person out of those 3 people na high blood pressure na in kill am. For US alone, no. Now imagine the whole world. For US, 103 million people, adults, are living with high blood pressure. 103 million adults in the US are living with high blood pressure. Last year, 2017, 45.6% of the US adults are living with high blood pressure. And this one no include people who don't die of high blood pressure. It no include people who get risk factors to get high blood pressure. Now only people who don't get the high blood pressure already. 103 million adults, imagine. Yeah? The whole world, worldwide, they say 1/3 of all the adults in the world are living with high blood pressure, which means if you gather all the old adults for this world, divide them into 3 groups. 1 group already gets high blood pressure. So you see how bad this situation be, ba? Now we say people don't finish for this world be that now. If 1 group don't get them, before you know it, 2 group, the second group don't get them, the 3rd group don't get them, we don't finish be that. So now for us to know how this situation bad worldwide, so that we can take care of ourselves, we can start to take precaution. Not be say now just to hear them, okay, we supposed to take action right now. Make we better our health and our population. Imagine in the year 2035, the total money we for don't spend on top high blood pressure head now $220.9 billion. That money feed like how many nations? How many nations if it feed? Like $220.9 billion. Now money we they spend on top high blood pressure. So you see how bad the situation is worldwide. We suppose they're very careful. May we they check ourselves. May we know how we stand. Make it not be say they waka followed one day, you just fall. Because all die na die. All die na die. So make we they check ourselves, I beg.
Okay, so it is also very important for us to know the risk factor. Okay, wetin be the risk factor where you get, where fit increase your chances of getting high blood pressure. Okay, again, risk factor no mean say you get high blood pressure. It means say your chances of getting high blood pressure is high. Okay, so now we are going to talk about 2 different groups of risk factor. We have the ones that we can control and we have the ones that we cannot control. That one na God handy day. Okay, so the ones where we know fit control, number 1 na your age. nobody fit control in age. Dem born you so year, na so e be. Even if you go do birth certificate wey say your age no be your age, still you cannot change your body. Okay, so age is one of the biggest risk factor. Okay, and a lot of people that are above the age of 40 have high blood pressure. It means say your risk of getting high blood pressure they increase with your age. As you dey old, your risk of getting this disease they increase. Okay, so age na something wey we no fit control. So all of us get that risk factor wey be say as we dey get old, our risk of getting high blood pressure they increase. Another risk factor wey we no fit control na our race. Okay, we know say that we get different race for this world, and all the races can have high blood pressure, but the number one race we get the highest risk of high blood pressure na we black people, or African Americans as they call them for US. Okay, we as black people, our risk of getting this high blood pressure they higher than the other people wey we dey call Caucasian or Asian or Hispanic people. Okay, now we carry the crown for head for high blood pressure. So we need to know say as black people we get that risk, and it is our duty to take care of ourselves. Okay, another risk factor we will not fit control na family history. Wetin be family history? If your mother, your sister, your brother, anybody for your family, if that person get high blood pressure, you too will be family members to those people, you get high risk of getting high blood pressure. For example, my case, my father get high blood pressure, my mother get high blood pressure, which means that I am very likely to have high blood pressure as I get older. Okay, so as long as you get person for your family will get this disease, your chances of getting this disease don't increase. Na im be say you supposed to take care of yourself well. Another risk factor na your sex, okay, or your gender. Okay, normally before the age of 64, the people wey get high risk of getting high blood pressure na men. Okay, so men that are younger than 64 years old, their risk of having high blood pressure is higher than that of women. From the age of 65, now women carry the crown. Okay, so from the age of 65, women have more risk of having high blood pressure as compared to men. Okay, another risk factor that we cannot control is a chronic kidney disease. I'm sure that we all know, we've heard of how bad kidney diseases are, that you have to do transplant and people die from kidney disease. So when you have a chronic stage of kidney disease, you can't control it. You're just like, there's every possibility you're going to end up with high blood pressure, because your kidney also participates in the circulation of blood. If your kidney is not doing its part, circulation of blood is going to be affected. So if you have a chronic kidney disease, you're very likely to have high blood pressure. So these are the risk factors that we cannot control. They are out of our hands. Okay, that one no dey our hand. Now they God hand. Now let's move to those risk factors that we can control. For example, your weight, whether you are obese or whether you are overweight. You need to control your weight, because people who are overweight or obese have very high risk of having high blood pressure. Okay, we not supposed to do too much explanation for here, because we know say obesity and overweight na risk factor for almost everything. Okay, another thing where we don't mention from our first video na diabetes. Okay, diabetes is a very bad disease, and it also increases your risk of having high blood pressure. People where they smoke, we don't talk this smoking tire. If you dey smoke, even the cigarettes they tell you say smokers are liable to die young. Not true. So as you're smoking, you're increasing your chances of having high blood pressure. Alcohol intake, Nigerians, okay? We can party. The partying is fine, but we need to like curtail the amount of alcohol that we're taking in. So at least try to reduce them. Okay, no they take too much alcohol, because at the end of the day now you go suffer. Another thing na stress. I think that in Nigeria, like, stress is part of our life, our lifestyle. Like, maybe we should even add it to the ones that we cannot control, because the situation of Nigeria is stressful enough.
Yeah.
Okay, but stress is really a very big risk factor of high blood pressure. And even though the situation is really stressful, let's try our best and, like, calm down. Leave everything in the hand of God. Okay, do your part, get your PVC vote, but try to just calm down, because stress can just kill you at any time. Another thing, now, our food. Nigerians, we like too much salt. Okay, high intake of salt is another risk factor for high blood pressure. You need to reduce the intake of salt. Most of our food, our soup, jollof rice and everything, we like to put plenty salt. We need to reduce that, because that also increases our risk of having high blood pressure. Based on this food too, we have the high level of cholesterol, high fats inside our blood, because of the kind of food we chop. Okay, too much fry. We like to one fry egg, one fry plantain, one fry everything. Sometimes you could boil these foods and you don't need to fry them. So let's try to also reduce that, because that is another risk factor for having high blood pressure. Lastly is sedentary lifestyle. Exercise. We don't talk, I'm tired. Exercise is very, very important. It helps your body to function properly. Okay, and we've said before, you don't need to go to the gym. You just need to take a walk 5 days a week for 30 minutes and you'll be fine. Okay, so exercise is really very important for us to be able to control these numbers that she mentioned in the statistics of high blood pressure.
Now, the next thing we're going to talk about are the causes, right? What causes high blood pressure? Now, we have two major classifications of high blood pressure. We have the primary or essential hypertension, and we have the secondary hypertension. Now, wetin be primary hypertension? Primary hypertension na hypertension wey person get wey they no fit find the cause of that hypertension. Like, they no fit find wetin dey cause that high blood pressure for you. You go hospital, they search everywhere, nothing wey they fit find say na im be the cause of this high blood pressure. Na primary hypertension be that. And that this hypertension starts gradually, right? It starts gradually and then it goes and evolves as the individual gets old, right? Now, secondary hypertension. Secondary hypertension na hypertension wey another condition cause. This one they fit find wetin cause am. It has a cause, right? And it can be a number of different conditions, like if you have respiratory problems, like you have a disease of your lungs, this can indirectly affect your heart, thereby increasing your blood pressure. If you have problems with your kidneys too, as she has mentioned, the kidneys are very, very important in the regulation of high blood pressure. So if you have a disease of the kidney, especially when it is chronic, you have every probability of getting high blood pressure. When you have a problem with your thyroid gland, the thyroid gland is actually situated here, and this gland is very important for the metabolism of your body. Everything chemical in your body, it's the thyroid gland that regulates that. So when you have a problem with this thyroid gland, especially when it is releasing too much hormones, this can cause your blood pressure to increase, right? If you have a problem with your adrenal glands, this is just two glands that are on top the kidneys, right? That's their own location. If you have problem with that, you can also get high blood pressure. Some medications to cause your blood pressure to increase, right? For example, if you have some other condition and you go to the hospital, it is very important for you to ask your doctor the side effects of these medications, because there are some medications, even medications as simple as painkillers, that can increase your blood pressure. So if you are an individual that is already living with high blood pressure, you have to be very careful of the medications you take. You have to be sure that you know what the side effects are, so that it does not complicate your matter. Next example now, congenital defects. What do we mean by congenital defects? Now, defects where pikin they get when they born am, right? There are some children that when they give birth to them, they have defects like defects of their hearts. Maybe their heart did not develop properly, right? Or they have defects of the lungs. Maybe there's something wrong there. It's not as if these children got these defects after they were born. No, they got these defects while they were still in their mother's womb. So when a child is giving birth to with these defects, we call them congenital defects. And there are some congenital defects that can increase the blood pressure of that child. Yes, children can have high blood pressure. It's not just adults, right? So that's how widespread this disease is. The last example we're going to be giving now is illegal drugs, cocaine, amphetamines, all that stuff. They can increase your blood pressure. They have lots of other effects on the body, but one of the effects is increase in blood pressure. So these are some of the causes of secondary hypertension that we need to take note of.
Okay, so we're going to end this video by talking about the symptoms of high blood pressure. So the shocker is that high blood pressure is basically 90% of the time asymptomatic, and that's why we call it the silent killer, because you don't know that you have high blood pressure because it doesn't show any symptom. The only way you can know is if you're a kind of person who goes for regular checkups, and that's when maybe you see that maybe the doctor checks and sees that something is not fine with your blood pressure. But generally, blood pressure doesn't show any kind of symptoms. There are cases where it might show, but basically in almost all cases it doesn't show symptoms. Okay, so that's why we say it's asymptomatic. You can have high blood pressure and you will just be fine physically, not knowing that inside there's a problem.
Dead man walking. Now, sometimes high blood pressure can show symptoms, right? Most times it doesn't, but sometimes it does. And when it does, it's already when the high blood pressure is getting severe. So it's not like now it starts, okay, let's treat it. No, it's already when it's in the advanced stage. That's when it starts showing symptoms. Sometimes you start to feel headache, which is very frequent in your neck area and the back of your head. And it kind of feels like there's a heavy load on your head. That's the characteristic of that kind of headache, right? Sometimes you can even have like blurry vision where you go to see double, right? It's also a symptom of high blood pressure. You can feel dizzy, you can feel flushing, which is actually when your face goes red, right? You can feel shortness of breath, which means you cannot breathe properly. You can get nosebleeds when you start bleeding from your nose. You can even start to see blood in your urine. In this case, it has started to affect your kidneys. High blood pressure is very, very dangerous because it affects every single organ in your body from head to toe. It affects everything, and when it starts, it's like point of no return, especially if you don't catch it early. So we have to be very, very attentive to our health. These are some of the symptoms of high blood pressure. There are lots of other symptoms, but these are just a few of the symptoms that we will be mentioning in this video. As we said at the beginning of this video, we're going to stop here in the symptoms, right? Because we're going to make this topic into two parts, where this video is just talking about definition, the epidemiology, the symptoms, risk factors, and the second video will be diagnosis, treatment, prevention, and so on and so forth. So we hope that you've been able to learn a lot from this video. Please do not take hypertension lightly. It is a silent killer. If you don't want to be a dead man walking, please take notes and take action. Not just hearing the message, you have to act. You have to take care of your health, please and please. So thank you guys for watching. Thank you guys for listening to us. As usual, we're very grateful for your support, your motivation, all the love you give us each week. Like, thank you so much, so much. So please like, subscribe, comment, give us your questions. We're always open to answer whatever question you want. And don't forget to follow our Instagram page at All Round Health Talk, where we'll always be posting extra information about all the topics we discuss here. So see you guys until the next video.
Bye.
Bye.